Sega.
Hello everybody, Darren here from the community team, and today we're going to be doing a battle let's play with the Call of the Beastmen DLC for Total War Warhammer. And as you can see by this crazy environment around me, this is the Bestial Path battle maps, or battle environment I should say. There are multiple maps in the game that support this environment, including multiple land battles, ambush and subterranean. This is a custom subterranean battle where I'm playing as the Beastmen versus Empire. So if you'll have a look at the absolutely fantastic detail, we've got these kind of pulsating, bulging organic material coming out of these absolutely giant trees. And just to give you a sense of the scale, those trees down on the ground, those are the normal trees that you'd see in the game. These giant ones around us is what creates the Beastway. So I noticed on this map there's this lovely asteroid that plonked down in the corner of the battle map, and the Beastmen seem to have set their camp up around it, and they've dismantled their camp now and we're getting ready to go for a fight. You can see all the bones of different things and people that they've been eating. So here we have the not so friendly Minotaurs, which you also may have seen with the introducing video we put up recently. These guys are basically your monstrous infantry, your solid core monstrous infantry. They do a huge amount of damage, have a very high charge bonus, and just tear into infantry. Now I don't want to spend too much time going through all the units, but we will have a look at some of the brand new ones, and I'll hopefully get to zoom in during the battle at some point to show you kind of how they look when they're in combat. So I'm using Malagar the Dark Omen, the second legendary lord for the Beastmen. Personally I just think he looks pretty cool, so that's why I chose him. He's got wings coming out of his back. Right, we'll have a little zoom in on him and take a look at him. Now Malagor actually uses the Lore of the Wild, and I haven't given him all the spells. He's not fully ranked up yet. And the Brave Shaman actually uses the Lore of the Beast. So hopefully throughout this battle we'll get to see a little bit of spells coming from both of these guys. Again, Lore of the Beast, I haven't fully upgraded him, but I've given him a couple spells which are pretty hard hitting, so hopefully we'll get to see them. Then we have a Gore Bull. Now this is your melee specialist. He's a high damage dealer, he's armoured, armour piercing. He actually has some very cool, unique animations where he just throws himself into the enemy and does a big massive tumble. It's really, really cool. So then we have the Ungor Spearmen Herd with the shield variant. This is what you're going to be your main kind of anti-large unit that you're going to be using, similar to the Empire where they have the spearmen and then the spearmen with shields. Then we have the Centaurs, the great weapon variant. They're basically, you know, bestial cavalry with great weapons. They're very fast, as are most units for the Beastmen, and they pack a really hard punch. They're meant for armor piercing, so if we've got any great swords and things like that to fight against, I'll be putting them against them. We've got the Razor Gore Herd. Now these are again just kind of monstrous bestial cavalry which will just charge in there. It's kind of like an exaggerated direwolf that's just gone crazy. Then we've got Minotaurs again. Now my favourite unit is probably the Bestigor Herd. These are just your standard cool looking beastmen that carry giant great axes, and they're heavily armoured. They pack a huge punch and they're very expensive to maintain on the campaign, so they're kind of your late game unit. So let's start the battle, and we'll try and zoom in as we go along. Now apologies in advance for any poor performance on my part in terms of my gameplay, because it's hard to talk and play at the same time. Right, so we've got Malagor moving up. I've got everyone moving up together. I locked the formation to keep them all running at the same speed, and I'll just let you guys soak in the details for a second. Alright, it looks like the Hellstorm rocket battery has started firing on my troops, and that's actually going to do quite a lot of damage. The Beastmen have no real heavily armoured troops except maybe the Bestigor Herd. As you can see, most of them are just skin and cloth. You know, they're a hyper aggressive, fast race, so they sacrifice armour for that speed. So I'm going to have to close the gap to the enemy as fast as possible here. While they're firing on me, there's really nothing I can do. This depression in the hill is going to help slightly, but their Hellstorm rocket battery has a good arc and is able to fire down on me. But their great cannons are starting to hit the trees and things like that. So, going to take a lot of damage. There's really nothing I can do except get there as quick as possible. However, they've got artillery and I don't. That seems unfair to me. So let's level the playing field and use Savage Dominion. This will enable us to raise a Cygor in the middle of battle. I've seen this animation about 50 times, but it never gets old. Cygor absolutely just crawling out of the ground, pulling his way out of the dirt, and then lifting up a rock to throw at the enemy. So the Cygor is going to keep pulling boulders out of the ground wherever he is in order to throw it at the enemy. And it's a really interesting artillery piece. because essentially most artillery pieces, you know, like trebuchets from Tony or something, have 3 or 4 and they lob rocks, but this guy only lobs one rock because he's just one guy. But he is a giant in his own right, so it's always good to fire at the enemy and then keep him moving after he throws that rock, and that way you can get into combat eventually. So it's best to maximize his... Oh, hang on, we have to see if this hits or not. What a hit. I mean, it almost overshot, but it did pretty good amount of damage. 11 kills, good amount of damage. But like I was saying, to maximize the use of a Cygor, you want to start moving him up and get him into combat after he's thrown a few boulders. Or just throw them and then move, throw, move, and get him up there. And that's the best way, I think, to maximize the use of a Cygor. Because that way you're using his range, but you're also just getting him in the thick of the combat, causing morale problems for the enemy as well. Alright, so we are encountering quite a lot of problems. Looks like... Did something get called down to me? It looked like a bright wizard was about to call something down, but I don't know if it went off or not. And the handgunner line is now starting to fire on me as well, so we're going to be taking an incredible amount of damage in this front line. So this is the last ditch effort now to cross the last 100 meters and catch the enemy. Right, so let's get the gore bull into some spears again with the axes to back him up. The bright wizard is coming down. It looks like he just actually had a miscast, so that's going to lower his health as he comes down. We're engaged on the left. I'm going to pull my spearmen out because the demigriffs just charged into my axemen and just absolutely kind of wrecked them. Again, they've no armor and I'm kind of downhill, so that's going to be really difficult. Malagor's out there by himself, so let's use one of Malagor's spells. We'll use Devolve. And Devolve is a really interesting one. The radius for damage is absolutely massive. It only lasts like 5 or 6 seconds, but it also does a -8 leadership. Now, we're not going to really feel the effects of that leadership now, I wouldn't imagine, because it's quite early on in the fight. So hopefully get to use that again later. But that's going to do a good amount of starting damage to everyone in that circle, especially because there was quite a lot grouped up over there. Alright, I'm just trying to find a gap for my Centaurs to get through now. I think I might have messed up my Razorgore kind of herd. Because they're starting to rout now, and they're in the thick of it. So I'm going to try and pull them back out. And what I've just done is cast Transformation of Kadon. So this is the Bray Shaman's Lore of Beast version of raising a monstrous unit onto the battlefield. Now I don't know about you, but if I was on the Empire side, I think I'd be calling GG and running for the hills. You can see, oh look at the Cygor throwing his stones in there, that's so cool. Alright, so we've got missiles at the back, not really doing too much. I need to find somewhere for them to fight, and some of my units are starting to come back. Beastmen tend to have kind of lower morale, I feel, than most other units. So they do kind of rout quite easily. You need to keep them all grouped together, keep your generals nearby to kind of keep their leadership elevated. Right, let's do a Vile Tide. It's a bit weak on the left, so we'll do a Vile Tide, and that was a little explosion. And it looks amazing. So that'll kind of scatter the enemy. It's a pretty good explosion in terms of, compared to the other ones in the game, I think it's one of the strongest, except maybe Foot of Gork seems to be one of the best ones. Alright, things are getting pretty hectic again, so I'm going to do another... Actually, I'm going to do Flock of Doom. It's a little bit more concentrated. I want to get these Demigriff Knights down. So we'll concentrate our Spearmen on them. It looks like they know they've made a mistake. They should not have come into this group. So we'll try and chase them down. It looks like I've got a lot of the army on the back foot, and the balance of power is starting to turn into my favour as well. It's starting to go up. So the Manticore is doing good damage, just keeping the kind of gunners units busy and the artillery busy so they can't keep firing on me. Because of course you don't have any other kind of flying monstrous units for the Beastman. I'm going to try and bring my Bray Wizard out to the left and do some damage out there. The Minotaurs just throwing them into whatever they can fight right now. I'm a bit worried because there's halberdiers and spears and greatswords all surrounding my Cygor, so he might be taking a bit of damage now. It's not a good place for him to be in, I don't think. Right, so Malagor, the unit around Malagor is actually just broken, so Malagor's on his own, so I'm going to get my archers to fire in on top of him to help it out as well. We'll bring the Razorgore herd, which has come back now to help on the left. The left looks like it's totally breaking though, so it's not looking too good over there. Great Cannon is still firing on me as well, which is a bit of a problem. Alright, we're firing in on those great swords. He is completely surrounded Malagor though with great swords, which is a big problem. I'm going to use a Vile Tide to kind of free up my Cygor maybe. He's actually not taking too much damage considering what he's surrounded by. We've got some units coming back. The Gorebull is back, so we'll send him in as well. Looks like I've freed up Malagor as well, so we'll do another Devolve. Now hopefully this leadership will break them completely and then they will run away. Seems to have done the trick, and it's going to cause damage to them as well, so they ain't coming back. We've got another Flock of Doom in the center, and that again will do another great amount of damage in a more concentrated area to their artillery, hopefully routing them and pulling them off that artillery. Alright, things are starting to look a bit better. The balance of power is climbing in my favour. Got some idle units, not really microing them too well, so we'll move them up to the centre. Alright, we still have some guys at the back. It's good with the Beastmen, like, they do seem to return once they get behind the solid kind of battle line. They'll return very quickly, so because morale is a bit low, you do need to kind of overpower with numbers, and then always remember to turn your camera around, get the guys that are not doing anything, pull them back in as quick as possible, because they're very quick. They can get back into the combat very quickly. Just fire on these Demigryph Knights. I think this might be it. Yeah, that seems to be it. And there we have it, victory. It's as easy as that. Now obviously, like I said, talking while playing is difficult, so don't judge me. Alright, let's just chase down a few of these guys, have a little zoom in. Let's see if we can get the Cygor to fire one last rock at these fleeing Empire handgunners. These scum. It's like, get out of my lands! Oh, nice. That's so cool, it never gets old. Alright, and there we have it. It was a Pyrrhic victory. It was quite a difficult battle. I gave the enemy a little bit more than I had. We probably had roughly the same amount of troops, but they had some artillery as well, which gave them the advantage. Alright, yeah, so that's post-battle screen. I'm not going to go into too much detail there. I hope you guys enjoy the video. We've got more content on the way. Make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for more Beastmen content, and to our live streams at twitch.tv/TotalWarOfficial for upcoming Eye for an Eye campaign, which is the Beastmen exclusive campaign.